Hi, my name is Leslie Ivy and I'm a lawyer. I made this video for you and I hope it helps. I hope that the choices that you make today create a life that really does fulfill your dreams. I'm calling this video Gifts for My Future Self because that's what I hope that you're making, gifts for your future self rather than problems. First, what do you dream of for your life? Happiness, mental health, physical health, a safe home, nutritious food, love, freedom. What about things that are harder? Do you dream of having jail in your future, traffic tickets, court debt? I don't think so. But how can you make the choices that will help you avoid those things? The only thing you can control in life is you. As much as we all would like to control the world around us, we cannot. We can only control ourselves. By that I mean each person can only control the way they respond to the experiences they have. You and I can only control our choices. Let's talk about a pretend person. I'll call her Leah. Leah is a 21-year-old single mom working on her high school diploma. Leah loves her family, she loves anime cartoons, and dreams of becoming a car designer. Now, let's talk about Leah's life. How is she going to become a car designer? She's going to invest her time, talent, and attention on that goal. Yes, there are many other things that she must do each day as a single mom and a high school student. So it may be hard, but to really have the life that she wants to live, to fulfill the dreams she has, it's gonna take effort, and it's worth the effort to get going. She's gonna need to do 4 things. The first thing, she's gonna need to focus. Leah is focused on becoming a car designer. Leah makes choices that support that dream coming true. The second thing Leah needs to do is get active. Pick acts and actions that have predictable impact on her goal. For example, if Leah wants to become a car designer, what activities will help her strengthen her design skills the best? Watching anime on TV, drawn by other people, or drawing her own anime? Number 3, she's going to need to keep a scoreboard, something to track all of her actions so that she knows from one day to the next what she's doing and whether she's getting closer or further away from her dream. And finally, she needs to share her dream with someone, to have somebody that she can share her wins and her losses with so that she can have an accountability partner. Now let's say Leah wakes up on a Tuesday, a school day, and she feels anxious and depressed. Let's say she decides to do some different things. First thing, she wakes up and she decides to have an edible pot cookie or 2 or 3 for breakfast to soothe her feelings of anxiety and depression. Then she decides to watch anime on TV while she eats her pot cookies. Then, instead of taking a shower and doing her morning hygiene routine, she decides to watch another hour of anime on TV. That extra hour makes her late for school, so she drives 50 miles an hour through a 25-mile-an-hour school zone. She's high on the pot cookies while driving because the edibles she ate have kicked in. Did Leah make choices that would lead to gifts for her future self or problems? I don't know. Let's analyze it. Now, let's go back to her first decision. Her first choice was to eat edible pot cookies for breakfast. Let's analyze that choice. Well, if she's over 21 years old, marijuana is legal in California. Proposition 64 that passed a few years ago is a law that makes non-medical recreational use of marijuana legal. But is it a good idea for breakfast? Come on. Is it nutritious? Is it going to give her the fuel that she needs to get through school, to help her kid get breakfast? Also, if it's helping with her anxiety and depression, are there other things that she can do to get at the core, at the root of her mental health needs? Is it possible that therapy might be more helpful than cookies? Just a thought. Now, let's look at her second choice, watching anime. Of course, that's legal. That's totally fun. Is it better use of her time, though, to watch the anime or to doodle and draw her own characters? If her goal is to become a better artist, which one would be more helpful? It's not wrong to watch anime, but is it getting her one step closer to her dream? The next choice she made was to skip taking a shower. Now, again, that is totally legal. No one's required to have good hygiene. But what does taking care of yourself do for your self esteem and for your ability to network with other people? It's helpful, right? And sometimes, if somebody is struggling with mental health, taking care of personal hygiene might be harder. And it might be a sign to yourself uh, to try and seek help or pay attention to what your emotions are doing. The next decision that Leah made was to drive 50 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone. Now, that is illegal. Going faster than the speed limit could lead to consequences. Going 20 miles over the speed limit is called reckless driving. The law says that no one should drive faster than is safe for the conditions of the road at the time. Driving at an unsafe speed can lead to a citation or arrest, even if anybody is injured or property is damaged. Fines, fees, points on your driver's license, increased insurance costs, and loss of your driving privilege. And of course, there's the risk of hurting yourself or other people, or even totaling your car in the process. Now, for the last decision in this problematic day, Leah decided to drive while high on pot. Driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol or both is a crime. And just like driving drunk, it can really lead to major problems. One of the first things to be afraid of when driving under the influence is killing someone, yourself or other people. That is the first risk. And that's why it's taken very seriously in the courts. Now, let's talk a little bit about the cost of a DUI. There's jail, some 2 days to 6 months of jail, depending on the number of uh, cases a person has had in the past. The driver's license can be suspended for at least 4 months, and the minimum fine is $1,000. That's the lowest fine that they can give. Probation for 3 to 5 years. That's a pretty high cost, and it's not really worth it. But if she hadn't made that decision, what would be the cost of speeding? Well, the cost of a traffic ticket in California under Vehicle Code Section 23103, that's the section of the law that explains what the rules are. A person who drives while showing willful or wanton disregard for the safety of other people or for property may be punished with up to 90 days in jail, a fine of at least $145, plus penalties and other fees, and 2 points on their license, which increases the cost of insurance. Now, let's say her ticket was $185. We'll say that's the base fine. Then, with penalties and surcharges, that would add another $604. So the total bail amount that she would have to pay for driving 25 miles over the speed limit might be something as high as $789. But then the court will add additional fees for court operations, $160, and a conviction assessment fee of $140, which means the grand total for driving 25 miles over the speed limit could be $1,089. That's in addition to all the penalties for the DUI. Now, what could Leah have done differently to create gifts rather than problems for her future self? Well, first, waking up with anxiety and depression is very common, especially now with all that's going on in the world. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. Actually, it's the best decision that anyone can make, to ask for help. If Leah noticed that when she woke up on Tuesday she was feeling anxious and depressed, and she reached for the telephone instead of for pot, she might have called a therapist, or she might have called a friend, and really talked about the emotional weight that she was carrying, rather than trying to numb it. And by facing those emotional challenges and asking for help, she might, with time, be able to feel better, truly feel better, rather than just numbing the feelings and trying to get by. So the first decision she could have made would have been different, and a gift to her future self would be to face her anxiety and depression head on and ask for help, ask for therapy, and try to deal with those feelings head on. Number 2, she could have decided to draw anime instead of watch anime. Sometimes you're in the mood just to relax and watch a show. That's fine. But if the question is how can you make the best choices to give yourself a gift in the future rather than a problem, if she took that time to draw and doodle and work on her skills as an artist, she'd be making time useful for her future self. Now, let's look at the decision to take care of her personal hygiene. Now, again, as I said earlier, her decision to not take a shower may have come as a symptom of her increasing anxiety and depression. If she noticed that she was not wanting to take care of her personal hygiene and really noted to herself that that's something that happens when her anxiety and depression is acting up, she might have taken that moment to go ahead and do some self-care, call a friend or a therapist, and take the shower just as a way to give a ritual of self-care. That's a gift to her future self, even in the short term, for the rest of the day. Then, if she decided to go ahead and follow her morning routine and left on time for school, then she wouldn't have been tempted to speed. And obviously, if she wasn't speeding, she wouldn't be at risk of getting a legitimate traffic ticket. And finally, if she had decided to eat breakfast, a nutritious breakfast that had protein and all the fiber and nutrients that she needed, she, instead of having a pot treat, she wouldn't be driving under the influence of drugs, and she wouldn't risk getting a DUI. And if she had made the decision to have that pot cookie, she could have made the decision to take the bus to walk, or to get a ride to school. It is never okay, and there's no circumstance when it's acceptable to drive under the influence of drugs or alcohol. It's just not a good idea. And if you do get in a situation where, like Leah, you're struggling with anxiety, depression, or other mental health issues, if you're struggling with addiction, there are counselors and therapists and treatment programs that are available if you have Medi-Cal. If you have the free insurance through the state of California, there are drug rehabilitation programs and therapy programs that won't cost you anything, but they will be a gift to your future self. So, this is not a typical video for a criminal defense lawyer. Usually I like to talk about the law from a different point of view, but what I can do in this video is try to prevent you from getting a case. That's the best way to avoid jail, is to not get arrested in the first place. And one of the best ways to not get arrested is to not break the law. Now, obviously, there are times when people are accused of crimes that they didn't commit, and the police create situations where you are innocent, but they're saying you're not. That's not what I'm talking about in this video. In this video, I'm talking about the times when we as people, just because we're human, make decisions that don't give gifts to our future self. They give problems to our future self. So I want to encourage you to give gifts to your future self by making small decisions every day that support your dreams of happiness, of mental health, of physical health, and of security. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.